Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Jessica Jones episode 13 video, all about the finale, so in case you guys haven't seen it, just careful for spoilers. I know it seems like the series has been out for a long time, but it's really only been a little bit more than 2 weeks, so for the most part, I think everybody that's like a hardcore comic book fan has probably binged the whole thing. But just out of curiosity, let me know if any of your friends or anybody in your family that you know is intending to watch it and hasn't seen a single episode yet. But the really big stuff in this episode are it's kind of, pseudo Daredevil crossover with Night Nurse and killing off David Tennant's character, killing off Kilgrave. I know it seems like he's dead. I think that's the intention. He is dead and he's not going to turn into some crazy zombie that's going to come back next week. So we just got to start by tipping our hat to David Tennant, saying you probably the best Marvel villain from this past year, who actually wasn't that big of a villain, like in terms of spectacle. Like when you think of big villains, you think of Loki, you think of the Chitauri, you think of Thanos. But maybe a better way to put it is that David Tennant was the most compelling Marvel villain of the year. That's actually a really good argument to have. Who's the better villain, Kilgrave or the Kingpin? Because they're both very relatable. Kilgrave is your textbook narcissistic psychopath who's obsessed with filling this hole inside his soul. Kingpin is just a person that's trying to make his neighborhood a better place. He just happens to have some really big morality issues. So if there's anything that the Netflix series are doing way better than the movies or any of the other TV shows right now, is giving us very real villains with amazing character development. Like the problem with a 2-hour movie is that you can do an amazing villain. Like Ultron is an amazing villain, James Spader had an amazing performance, but you get so little time with him that some of the reasoning, like some of the reason why he gets really pissed off at Tony Stark just doesn't feel quite as real. That's why I feel like, people who say that they don't like Jessica Jones as much are really just saying they like the movie type of storytelling, the way that they tell stories in the movies better than the way they tell the story on Jessica Jones. Because Jessica Jones isn't really a straight up superhero show. It's more of a character study, like a really intense character study for a female character with a certain measure of superpowers who's just, trying to make her way in the world as this gumshoe. Because there weren't a whole lot of references to Marvel Comics in this last episode, let's just work our way through, talk about Daredevil things and Season 2 stuff. Like, there's some light Marvel references, especially with the IGH group, Simpsons character, Night Nurse, Daredevil, Defenders. But really, most of the references that they had in this were references to things that they're only going to be addressing on Jessica Jones in these Netflix series. It's not stuff you're going to see in the movies. So Jessica takes Luke to the hospital, meets Night Nurse, finds out that they're all terrified of enhanced people, and you get the comedy of Jessica like picking Luke up like a pile of laundry as Night Nurse is looking at her like, oh my god, WTF am I getting into? Rosario Dawson was amazing during Daredevil Season 1, but she just proves the point, like what an amazing actress she is in these scenes with Kristen Ritter, with Jessica Jones. Been there, done that, lost my lease. She's this totally normal, badass nurse who's completely over the idea of people with powers. She's a little surprised at the idea of Luke having super strong skin or Kilgrave being able to mind control people, but her reaction to it all is just priceless. And then like at the end when Luke Cage wakes up and she brings in the water and realizes that he's gone, she just takes a drink, sits down like it's no big deal, like, oh well, whatever. This last episode, like all these scenes with Night Nurse in Jessica's apartment with Luke Cage are some of the most real moments in the entire series. And how awesome was it that the big badass dude, who you typically think would be the one to try and save all the damsels in distress, was passed out for this entire episode. It's just a nice way that the series flips the genre on its head. Like the Simpson character, that was kind of a misdirect with that character. Like he had that savior complex where he's like, no, Patsy, this is too dangerous. I'm gonna take these pills and take care of this problem for you. And she's like, dude, seriously, don't do that. These Luke Cage scenes were just another way of hammering that home. Like, just because you're the big, strong dude with superpowers doesn't mean you're just as vulnerable as everyone else. And just because you're, say, like a female nurse who says, I'm not even a doctor, you can be just as helpful as someone with superpowers. And seriously, how awesome was that Pulp Fiction moment where they had to stab him through the eye? Total Pulp Fiction Uma Thurman. He's gonna die if we don't stick him with this needle. So let's talk about Luke Cage for a second. What's the deal now? Because his series is coming really soon, probably next year. We don't really have an exact date for that, but he's probably going to be going to Harlem because he said the Hell's Kitchen police are looking for him. And when he says, I take care of me and my own, that's just a heroes for hire tease. He's just going to be helping people in the way that Jessica Jones, that kind of tease at the end with her sitting on the desk listening to the messages. They're just going to start helping more people now. So if it wasn't clear, Luke Cage and Jessica aren't in a relationship anymore, so sometime around the Defenders series, they're gonna have to make their peace with what they did to each other. Jessica killing Luke's wife, Luke almost killing Jessica while he was mind controlled by Kilgrave. So they've both done terrible things to each other that they need to work off. Just in terms of timing though, I'm expecting Luke Cage in the fall of next year, like around the same time that Jessica Jones dropped this year. So just looking at the Netflix series, we have Daredevil Season 2 starting in the spring. That's going to drop around Captain America Civil War. And then we're probably going to have Luke Cage in the fall. What about Defenders and Iron Fist, though? They said they're still working on an Iron Fist series, and they have to introduce the character before they do Defenders. So because they haven't even started shooting Iron Fist yet, we're probably going to get that series in 2017, maybe at like the beginning of 2017, and then Defenders right after that. So I'm not expecting Defenders till like summer of 2017. Just because I did it in my other Jessica Jones videos, here's my big question for you guys. Let me know in the comments, what was the craziest WTF moment for you in the episode? Was it seeing what Kilgrave did to the people that he left behind in that apartment? The way he made his father kill himself by cutting his arms off, making one of the dudes drink the Drano, making the other guy that survived chop his father's arms up in the blender. Probably the single most graphic moment in this series. If there was ever a reason to not let your 5-year-old child watch this, it would be for this last episode. Like maybe you could show him bits from Jessica Jones, like, oh hey, look at this female superhero, this is kind of fun. Then just pretend like the episode is over. Like, oh, that's it, no more. One other big takeaway from this, I think, is the way that superhero shows do relationship-y stuff. Like you have relationship drama because these are real people. They're going to get into relationships. They're going to have sex with people. Jessica talking to passed out Luke, probably the best superhero relationship-y scene that I've seen all year, considering that we also had Black Widow and Hulk, we had Night Nurse and Daredevil, which is also a very real relationship. But then you have to consider there's all the other superhero shows. There's like the DC TV shows. Let's compare this very real relationship moment to like the ham and cheese stuff that you see on The Flash. Now, The Flash is meant to be more of a comic book show. It reads like an actual comic book, so the relationships are written as if they're in an actual comic book. I'll just say that after seeing a lot of comic booky relationship stuff, Jessica Jones is a fresh breath of air. Season 2, Jessica Jones, what's going on though? So they've said a couple things like maybe it's not going to happen just because of the timing. That's just because the time frame that they have for Defenders is so short. They just don't have the time to work on Season 2. Now, they haven't confirmed anything, but don't be surprised if it doesn't happen till after the Defenders team-up series. What they said way back before Daredevil Season 1 premiered is that some of the series, not all, will get second seasons, and some of the characters they introduce will be eligible for spin-offs. So that's where we get into the Punisher spin-off series, and they are definitely gung-ho about that, but no idea when it's going to come. Maybe next year at the earliest, so we might actually get a year with 3 separate Netflix series at the same time. So let me know what you guys want to see in Season 2 if they end up doing it. I feel like the IGH is the easy sell. Finding out what's going on with this shadowy pharmaceutical company that gave Jessica her powers as well as Will Simpson with those special pills. Now the team up with another character, maybe like a Jessica Daredevil team up or a Jessica Luke Cage team up. She just fits a little bit better with the Luke Cage character just because of their comic book history. But she could totally cross over with any of the other Netflix characters. Let's go work a case for the Punisher. So here's what's up. I have a behind the scenes Star Wars video that I'm probably going to be doing. There's been a whole lot of funny quotes from some of the actors, especially Lawrence Kasdan, who said, I've written 4 Star Wars movies and I don't know what the term canon means. I don't know anything about the canon, so I absolutely have to talk about that. It is way too funny to not talk about. Be sure to subscribe to get that video. I'll try and post that tonight, but I also have some Game of Thrones, some Walking Dead, some other stuff I'm going to try and work on. Monday through Wednesday is going to be really busy, and Mark Hamill is coming back to The Flash this week. If you haven't seen it, I just posted a Flash trailer video, so check that out. Just in case you guys haven't seen it, you can click here for that Flash trailer with Mark Hamill, Trickster, big rogue team up coming next week. And you can click here for all my other Jessica Jones Netflix videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.